There are two ways to live: a life where you carry everything alone, and a life where you don't. Today we're talking about the real difference between life without God and life with God. What is life really about? Most of us wake up, go to work or school, chase goals, fight battles no one sees, and hope somehow that it all means something. We want peace. We want purpose. We want love that doesn't disappear when life gets hard. But here's the question few people slow down long enough to ask. What is the difference between a life without God and a life with God? Not in theory, not in religion, but in real life, when you're hurting, when you're lost, when you're winning, when you're failing. Today we're going to explore that difference honestly. Life without God is not always loud chaos. Sometimes it looks successful. Sometimes it looks happy on the outside. But underneath, there is often something missing. Without God, meaning becomes something we have to create on our own. We look for it in careers, relationships, money, pleasure, status, approval. And for a while, those things feel good. But here's the problem. Everything in this world that we build our identity on can be taken away. Your job can disappear. Your relationship can fall apart. Your health can fail. Your success can fade. So when life hits, and it always does, what are you standing on? Without God, suffering often feels pointless. Pain becomes something to escape, rather than something that can shape us. Mistakes become something to hide, rather than something that can redeem us. Many people without God quietly carry questions like, does my life actually matter? What happens when this is all over? Why do I feel empty even when things are going well? And because there is no higher anchor, the weight of life falls completely on the self. I must be enough. I must succeed. I must define my own worth. But the human soul was never designed to carry the burden of being its own God. That's why, even in a world full of comfort and technology, so many people feel anxious, lost, and exhausted. Not because they are weak, but because they are trying to live without the very source that gives life meaning. Life with God doesn't mean a life without pain. It doesn't mean problems disappear. It doesn't mean every day is easy, but it changes where your life is rooted. With God, meaning is no longer something you have to invent. It is something you receive. Your life is no longer an accident. You are not random. You are not disposable. You are created with purpose. With God, your value is not based on your productivity, your appearance. Your worth comes from being known and loved by the one who made you. That changes everything. Suffering is no longer meaningless. Pain is no longer wasted. Struggles become places where God can shape, refine, and strengthen you. Life with God gives you something life without God never can. Hope that is bigger than circumstances. When things fall apart, you're not standing on yourself anymore. You're standing on something eternal. You're able to say, I don't understand this season, but I am not alone in it. I may be weak, but God is strong. My story is not over, even when I fail. With God, you don't have to carry the weight of being your own savior. You are allowed to be human. You are allowed to need help. You are allowed to depend on grace. And in that dependence, something powerful happens. You begin to live from peace instead of pressure. One of the biggest differences between life without God and life with God is identity. Without God, you become what you achieve. You become what people think of you. You become what you own, produce, or perform. And when those things are shaken, so are you. But with God, you are not defined by your past. You are not reduced to your worst mistakes. You are not limited to your current circumstances. You are defined by grace. That means tricks. You can be corrected without being condemned. You can grow without pretending to be perfect. Life with God does not erase your flaws. It redeems them. It takes brokenness and turns it into testimony. It takes pain and turns it into purpose. It takes emptiness and fills it with meaning. Where life without God says, you must prove yourself. Life with God says, you are already loved. Now walk in who you were created to be. Finally, the deepest difference. What happens after this life? Without God, death is the end. Everything you've built, everything you've chased, everything you've become, stops. So the pressure becomes, get everything now, live for the moment, make this life all there is. But with God, this life is not the finish line, it is the beginning. Eternity gives weight to every choice, every act of love, every moment of faithfulness. Your life is not just about what you accumulate, but about who you become. With God, even the smallest acts of obedience matter. Even unseen faithfulness has eternal value. Even suffering has an end. You are not living for temporary applause. You are living for something that cannot be taken away. Life without God says, find meaning within yourself. Life with God says, you were never meant to do this alone. One life is built on what you can control. The other is built on who God is. One asks, what can I get from life? The other asks, who am I becoming in God? And the question is not whether both lives experience pain. They do. The question is this: when everything is shaken, what are you standing on? If you've ever felt empty in success, lost in failure, or tired of carrying life on your own, maybe what you're really searching for is not a better version of your life, but a life rooted in God. As we come to the end of this message, let's pause and reflect on what we've really been talking about. The difference between life without God and life with God is not about having fewer problems or more blessings on the surface. It's about what your life is anchored to when everything else begins to shake. Life without God often means carrying the weight of existence on your own shoulders. You have to create your own meaning. You have to define your own worth. You have to find your own strength when life becomes overwhelming. And while that kind of independence may feel empowering at first, it can quietly become exhausting. Because no matter how strong you are, eventually life will present moments that are bigger than you: loss, failure, uncertainty, pain. Without God, those moments can feel empty and purposeless. But life with God begins from a completely different place. With God, you are no longer trying to prove your value, you live from it. You no longer walk alone. You no longer face pain without hope. You trust that even suffering can shape you, not destroy you. Life with God doesn't remove hardship, but it redeems it. It doesn't erase fear, but it replaces it with peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. It doesn't make you perfect, but it reminds you that grace is greater than your mistakes. Where life without God says, you must be enough, life with God gently says, you don't have to be. So wherever you are right now, searching, believing, doubting, or growing, know this: a life with God is not about religion or rules. It's about restoration. It's about direction. It's about hope that goes beyond this moment and beyond this life. The question isn't whether life will be difficult. The question is this: when life gets hard, who are you walking with? If this spoke to your heart, take a moment today to seek God honestly. And if you want more videos about faith, purpose, and real life with God, subscribe and walk this journey with us.